How we going? Outback Bowl. Welcome to my garage. Today we're going to look at this button. Has this button ever fallen off your head unit? Off of your Volkswagen 20 whatever? It's like 2014, 2015. This is a 2014 out of a Passat. We're going to look at how to replace that button. So, this is the unit. Alright. Cool. Straightforward, huh? Now, what you've got to think about before you start is what we don't want to see, what damage we don't want to see. So we've got to be really careful about how we pick this. We've got to pick this apart to do this job. The problem is you do something like, oh, you know, this button. Oh no, I put the screwdriver in there and this button fell out again. God, happens every time. You'd think, oh well, it popped out. Yeah, I can see how that works. It's got to sit there, and then, oh, I can't just push it back on. I mean, the button still works, but it doesn't stay in. It doesn't sit properly. That's not the fix. Alright. Well, it sits in there well enough that it won't actually fall out. But it's not sitting in there properly. So, what are we going to do? Tools? Well, I prefer to use plastic tools because anything softer than this isn't really going to scratch this. Well, this is what I have, a couple of tiny little screwdrivers. Bit DIY, I know, bit agricultural. But here we are. Got a rusty old knife. With these tools, we can work magic. So, take a deep breath. We're going to start by, there's a bezel around here. See that? We've got to get that off. Okay, you can put your fingernails in here and you'll see it has a little bit of lift, a little bit of give. I have taken this one off a couple of times already, learning how to do this. So this one's a little looser. Sometimes they're a bit more glued in or a bit more stuck. So if we get our fingernails rather than using those tools, and we give this a bit of a lift, we can pop these out. Just run your finger along here. Try and do the same along the top and get a little bit of pressure on those corners until they click and pop out. See that? Fingernail under there, lift that, oh, pop. Now it is, as I said, I've done this before, so this one's a little loosened up now, so it is slightly easier than what your first timer might be. We'll just pull that up, and then suddenly it'll get some pressure on in that corner. Oh God, it's going to make a liar out of me, isn't it? There we go. Just got to wiggle it, jiggle it, don't push it too far, and you'll get, sooner or later, you'll get just the right angle. This corner's always been a bit of a tough one. There we go, pop. Now just flip it over and have a little bit of a look at the tabs and the pieces that are holding it together, and make sure nothing's snapped or broken when you've done that. Because you'll have to, if it has, you'll have to retrieve the bits and glue them back on. But that's the bezel off, so we'll put that to the side. Now while we're in here, the cars are like 10 years old now, so they sometimes got a lot of gunk built up, especially on the bottom of the screen around here, from all the dirty finger touching, you know, and the grime falling out of your fingernails and down to there. So you might like to give it a bit of clean, not product plugging, but this stuff works really well on all kinds of surfaces. I'm a carpenter, I use it for finishing off and business like that. Now, the next thing is we've got to get this little unit of buttons out of here. This is where the knife comes in. That's not a knife. Well, yeah, it still is. So, down right next to the screen here, the edge, try not to slip off and hit the screen, just on the edge you'll notice between the screen and the buttons there's a little gap, and we're just going to ease that up. And what we want to hear is there's a clicking noise. Once again, I've taken this out a couple of times to learn how to do this. So this one's a little loosened up. If I do this side, it might be a bit of a different story. And for you, it'll probably be a little bit more of a mess around. But make sure that blade gets in with a little bit of depth. Go near these little buttons sort of things here. That's the sound you want. You want to hear that click. You run the knife down the other side and do the same thing. Click. Alright, and that loosens it up a bit. Once you've got that loosened up a bit, you can jiggle it. You might need to put the blade in this side and kind of pry like so. Keeping in mind you don't want any scratches on either of these surfaces, because you see those. This surface, that gets a little bit of a coverage from the bezel. This side doesn't. So you want to be very careful about how you do that one. Let's just focus on this one here. Right, and we'll pop that out. And that comes out. Now, I have on the other one of these, I have had that thing fall out. So just be mindful, if you're moving it around, that you don't lose that. Now what you want to do is you want to get this button back on. We're going to put our finger on the back side of this little moving part here, this bit that slides in and out. Put our finger on the back of that like so. We're going to place the button on the front in its position and just give it a little bit of pressure down. Click, click. So these actually attach to that moving section, not to this section as I initially expected. They just sit against that section, so that when you push it, this side doesn't move, but this side does. See that? But you need to hold this moving piece, this sliding piece, you need to hold that up. And you can't do that with it in place. You have to pop this out to do that. So yeah, like I showed you, that button, just sit it in place. And if you're in the correct place, you apply a small amount of pressure, click, and it goes in. Now this is a little rubber thing that pushes on the buttons. You need to make sure that's in the correct position. It's a bit difficult to replace this if that's not in exactly the right spot, and I may have that trouble right now. But we jiggle this around, sliding it back in, and you may have a little bit of trouble getting it back in. So this side needs to go in first because it's got these wide pieces on. So we want to slide that down and in. We're going to go like that, right? Get those ones in first. Now we hold it as high as we can. Show you that there. Got to hold. It goes in like, where are we on the camera? Going like that, and boom. Okay. And I'm just going to push it, give it some pressure in that direction, so that might even have to get the screwdriver just in here a little bit, and just give it a little bit of a levering. It's going to make a liar of me, isn't it? Just got to get it past that point that the two edges are interfering with one another, just past that point, and then you can push it down and click it back into place. Feels like if it's giving resistance, the rubbers underneath are probably not in exactly the right spot, and you'll know that fairly soon when you press these buttons, because they should feel just like these buttons. They have a bit of resistance, but they've got a nice feel about them. And if you've got that feel in there, then you're good. You've got that in the right spot. Otherwise you have to pull it back out. You've got to fiddle around and get those little rubber cups to sit just inside and correctly underneath that. Once you've got that on, this bezel goes back on. Very simply, click it in the four corners. Okay, and just gently push around the surround, make sure it's all sitting correctly how you like it. You take your cleaner, spray a little bit of this on. It'll give you, well, you probably should have done this before the bezel went on, to be honest. But this also, when you're finished, you do it again to get all your fingerprints off, to give it the major cleanup. And then after you've reinstalled it, you would wipe it down again, because that's what an OCD person will do, or somebody who just gives a toss about how they do their job. That's replacing the button. Really that simple, but it did take me an hour or so of picking and playing around and trying not to damage it. You'll see it here. Now this is still visible, but this side is not. It's covered by the bezel seat. If you make a mistake with your implements, this is the side to do it on. Okay, good. Hope that helped you, because I couldn't find any help on YouTube whatsoever about replacing this button. Have a good day.